And you're live.
Hello and welcome to A Gypsy's Kiss, the vlog. I'm Shelley Carney.
And I'm Toby Unit. Stick with us a couple of seconds and I will tell you what it's like to be boots on the ground. Okay, well, that was exciting.
It's always exciting when you're dependent on the internet to do a show.
Yeah, it is.
Because, yeah, we can't rely on it all the time, unfortunately. So, yeah, for those of you who are looking forward to Facebook Live today, that's not going to happen.
We have 6 different iOS devices trying to communicate on 3 different networks, trying to get us on YouTube and Facebook simultaneously, and we had it, and then all of a sudden everything tanked. It literally brought down the network.
As you can see from our opening statement, as you say hello to us, why don't you go ahead and put in how many times you've been boots on the ground, and if it's 0, please do write 0 so that we have a good sampling of how many times people have been out.
Yeah, because that's what we're going to talk about today. What we're going to talk about today is our experience in the past year. Now, I've been searching since 2013, Shelley since the beginning of 2017. But I think what's important is that we both searched in 2017, and we'd like to talk today about a little bit about each of our respective experiences from that point, from going out and doing it. But before that,
housekeeping. Today our moderators are Man in the Barn and Jimmy Fast. I haven't seen Joel yet. Man in the
Barn and Jimmy Fast. Joel was active all week in comments right up until I think it was last night or this morning. So he may be
maybe he's catching a nap after all that.
Yeah.
And thank you, gentlemen, for being here and on the job.
Man in the Barn, Jimmy Fast, we really appreciate your consistency in this effort. And if you ever feel like you're not going to be able to make it today, let us know, and we'll assign another person. We have a couple of other people waiting in the wings if we need them. We just trust that you guys are going to be there. So thank you for that. That makes us it's very comforting.
That's right. So that we know that at least that will work.
Ouch.
Today's presentation will be followed by an open Q&A, so you can ask any questions or tell us a little bit about your story about being boots on the ground.
Exactly. Let me talk about this. So I have recently added a photo album page to our blog, A Gypsy's Kiss. We had 26 different photo albums, and each one of them was in a different post. So over the weekend, I added another page that had all our photo albums in one place. And it's at the top of the menu. Just click on photo albums. You'll get to this page. You can sort by date, the earliest first or the latest first. And when you bring your cursor over one of these images, you're going to get 2 little images behind. One is a magnifying glass, and that just expands this featured image. But if you click on the link, it takes you directly to that particular page on which that album is. So enjoy them. We've had fun making them.
And you had one of our searchers helped you figure that out?
Pardon me?
One of our searchers helped you figure out how to do that?
No, was that Brian?
I don't know.
No, he was helping me with the group chats and things.
Oh, okay.
This one I did all by myself.
Oh, well, I thought you had a WordPress guru.
Never mind. You're right. I did. He did help me with that first.
Okay.
So Brian Eagle, thank you for helping. We really appreciate it. And you're the one that got me this far. The next thing I'm going to do with our blog is I'm going to put all our videos on one page so that they'll be easy to get to as well. Okay. So gypsyskiss.com. Go and subscribe to it, and that way you'll get updates there as well. So the other thing I wanted to do is I wanted to say thank you to Jeffrey Carter. Jeffrey is a teacher, and he contacted us about, he was telling us about a treasure hunt that he was having for his students. he teaches economics and history, and he mentioned to me that he had planned a treasure hunt for them based on the Fenn treasure hunt. He wrote the poem. I was going to read it today, but it would just we have we've got a lot of things to do to get done today. So, but I did want to give a shout out to the students in Mr. Carter's class at Amador Valley High School in Pleasanton, California, and those are the Amador High School Dons. And if you guys if one of you ever shows up at one of our live chats, ask me about my connection to that part of California, because I have all these connections during my period when I was actually employed and working, well, not employed, but working for myself. Are you trying to Facebook yourself?
I am, because I promised everybody, so I'm going to just tell them to come here.
Okay.
I don't like to promise things and then not come through.
Hey, I found out about this yesterday. I didn't have time to get it all worked out. But the technology
that's okay.
Worked out,
so I'm just going to...
So, Amador Valley High School Dons, I don't know what your shout is, but so.
All right. So we are live on YouTube at agypsieskiss.live if you'd like to join us for the chat. Today, we can't really get the Facebook Live going along with the YouTube Live because our internet crashed right in the middle of setting it all up. So I'm sorry.
Wait a minute. So are you on Facebook Live on your phone right now?
Yes.
Do you need your phone for any other purpose for this show?
No.
Okay, watch this. Here's what I can do, if nothing else.
So, do you need to flip the camera?
Let me get it.
You weren't using that? Okay.
Okay, so where's your lens?
You can flip it around if you want.
Okay. I'm not sure this is going to fit. It's so big.
Yeah, I have one at home and it fits in there, but just barely. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So you're on Facebook Live.
We are on Facebook Live.
So that's the best we can do today, but I promise that next time we'll get it all fixed so that we can actually control and you'll have intros and outros and stuff. It was just really messy today.
But we'll still have our back stuff here.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Thanks for joining us on Facebook Live.
So, so let's get back to our subject here. Oh, so I wanted to talk a little bit about if you want to donate to our project on Super Chat. And you're on a desktop, I figured out how to do it on a mobile phone, but I'm not going to take the time to explain it today. I'll make a little video and share that with you guys. So the first thing that you have to do is go down to the bottom of the chat window. There's a $sign there. Click on the $sign. You're going to get a window that looks like this inside of live chat. And you click on the blue button that says send a super chat. And when you get that, you'll be able to select the amount that goes from, I think, $2 minimum to $500 if you're feeling really generous. And then you'll get a window that looks like this, and it's going to be colored depending on your donation. So this for $10, you get a yellow one, and it goes to the top, and it tells you how long it's going to leave it there at the top. This one will stay up there for 5 minutes so that we make sure we notice it. And then click, and that says buy and send, and it'll charge it to whatever card you have associated with your Google account.
Now, this is not supported on mobile, but if you go to the desktop version through your mobile device, like if you use Chrome or one of those, you can actually do this. Yeah. But if that's too difficult for you, what can they do then?
If you can't get to it via that, then feel free to go to our PayPal account, paypal.me/agypsieskiss. And you can make a donation there. And honestly, we prefer that because PayPal, the PayPal commission is significantly less than the YouTube commission. Although they probably
but we appreciate it either way.
Yeah,
and we will definitely read your comments if you tell us you PayPal'd us.
We're going to read your comments, anyway.
Yeah. That's right.
But the smart chat ones, we pay attention to. We make sure we get them answered. So. And then the other, well, we'll get to that when we get to chat. Okay? Any other housekeeping?
No.
Notifications have gone out?
Have gone out.
Great. Okay. Well, Facebook, guys, I'm sorry you're not getting the full quality of all of this today. We had it all figured out until about 5 minutes before our show started today, why we were just a little bit late. And then everything crashed. And I have a really high-speed internet. And it took everything down, and we weren't sure why. So we're working with that today. But I'll make sure that we have it available next time for you guys on Facebook. And as Shelley said earlier, if you'd like to come and join us in the chat, which you'll not be able to do on Facebook, just go to gypsykiss.live and you'll see us there and you'll be able to join in the chat. Okay?
Absolutely.
So, lower third. There we go.
Yay! This is my lovely poster I made.
You are really good. You're getting really good at these Instagram posters. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boots on the ground.
Yeah, because he's just floating and getting on the ground.
Yeah.
Or she. Maybe
very nicely done. Very nicely done. So what we're going to talk about today is being boots on the ground. And the fundamental hypothesis that we're going to establish today is when you do go boots on the ground, and that was the other thing I'm going to repeat, Shelley, here. If what we'd like is make a comment in the chat and tell us how many times you've been boots on the ground looking for Fenn's treasure. Not how many times you've been camping or fishing. How many times have you been boots on the ground looking for Fenn's treasure? And if the number is 0, that's okay. Say the number is 0. It gives us a sense of how we need to configure our programming for you. That's why we decided it was. Shelley thought of that idea. I thought it was a really good idea. So, so what we want to talk about is being boots on the ground as it differs from us sitting and we do the same thing that you guys do. Is that my phone?
Yeah. Why are we? Oh, it's buzzing.
Because I have it turned off, I guess.
It's a Gmail.
Oh.
I'm putting this on the floor.
Do you need it?
It doesn't scare me anymore.
Do you need it?
No.
Then pull it out and put it over there. We'll be fine.
Okay.
Like I said, we had 6 iOS devices, 2 iPads, 3 iPhones, and an iPod trying to get it, and boom, just crashed everything. We were 99% of the way there. That's what was great about it.
Oh, I know, right?
All right. So let me quit complaining and just talk about what we're going to talk about today.
That's right.
So what we're going to talk about
today carry on
is being boots on the ground as it compares to doing research. Now, like everybody else, we do research. And the advantage that we have in our research is that we have some pretty strongly held beliefs about the various clues. Now, there's only a certain point you can get to by imagining them when you're not boots on the ground. Sooner or later, you're going to have to get boots on the ground. You're going to have to see them. But there's a couple of things that we do. Number one, well, I'll tell you what they are. But one of the important decisions that we made early on when we first started searching together, and the reason this happened is because Shelley was more sensitive about. So I like being in the outdoors, and if I went out and I didn't bump into the treasure, then I'd go fishing. And so there were a lot of things to do. It's different when you have someone, and it's not that she doesn't like being in the outdoors. She doesn't like wasting time. And so time and effort. And so it's one thing to go out and say, this isn't it, let's make a movie or something like that. But she was always questioning, like, why are we here? Or what's your home ground, et cetera, et cetera. And it forced me to be more conscious of the fact that I had somebody else with me as a partner on all these treasure hunts. Before that, if I wanted to stay and goof off and climb rocks and go fishing or swim naked in the river, which would have been quite the event, huh? I could have done that, but with somebody else, you have to start thinking about these things. So that's what brought this all up, and that's kind of what happened in in the description of last week's show. I didn't have to explain our strategy to anyone. I could just go out and do it on my own. When you have somebody else as a partner, you got to start explaining that strategy. Otherwise, they start questioning, and they won't be your partner long.
True.
Right.
That's right.
Okay, so this is a map of our 2017 recons. And I can't remember the exact order, so I'm just going to go north to south.
Pilar.
Okay, you do it.
Go from south to north, basically.
Go ahead.
Was Pilar, and then we did the John Dunn Bridge.
John Dunn Bridge, Task Box.
Then we went to Salida in the Browns Canyon area in Colorado.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Then we went to Lander, Wyoming.
And Sinks Canyon.
And then we went to Cimarron.
Right. Did we go to Cimarron more than once this year?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So those were kind of the events that we went to. And one of the things that I had the experience of was I had been out, and I kind of know the difference between what I see in Google Earth and what's out there, but I had the experience of taking Shelley out, so she could say, wow, this doesn't look anything like I expected it. You know, it's very different once you're out there. You have all these things that look one way on a map, and then once you're out, boots on the ground, it's completely different for you. And sometimes if you don't have a reference point with you, if you don't have your maps with you, if you don't have a GPS with you, it can be confusing. And the other thing that you're going to find is that maps, for as many as you can buy, maps are never detailed enough. And so you have to do a lot of configuring of exactly where you are. And that's why it becomes so important sometimes to carry a GPS with you, just to figure out where you are in relationship to the map that you printed off when you were looking at Google Earth. So I keep looking at myself instead of my camera over there. So those were our 2017 recons. I think we had a good time. Kevin joined us for Paposia for Sinks Canyon and for Browns Canyon, Salida. Mm-hmm. These other ones were kind of long weekends, would you call them?
Yeah, just overnights.
John Dodge. Well,
actually, this was an overnight. These were just day trips.
Day trips, yeah. This was a long day trip. I remember one to the John Dunn Bridge. Mm-hmm. So the other thing that I wanted to point out is how different something looks when you're looking at it at Google Earth, and then when you get there. Mm-hmm. And it's one thing to have done this a lot. You don't need detailed maps to go fishing. You just kind of have to know where the river is and where your dad took you and where you took your son, you know. But when you're looking for treasure, you have to have a real good sense of the location. You need to know where your home of Brown is. And so when you look at a map of this area in Sinks Canyon, and it's only that two-dimensional surface that you're dealing with, you have no sense of the changes in altitude, the additions. This area right here doesn't look like it, but it's basically marshland. Mm. And it's a completely different zone on the side of that mountain. You go a little bit further this way, and you can see it right here. It's a rock cliff face. And so you don't get a lot of sense of that until you're actually boots on the ground. And this distance here is pretty significant. I mean, you get across, that's the suspension bridge right there that you saw pictures of Shelley and Kevin, Shelley and Kevin and I on it. But you get up there, and this area right here, like that, that's what that looks like right there. And so you're trying to relate this three-dimensional area now in comparison to the two-dimensional area that you had all figured out before you left home. And that's a point that we want to continue to reinforce while we're here. So set your expectations dependent not only on what you see on the Google Earth maps, because they can only go down to a certain level, but be ready for what you're going to see once you get there if you haven't been out. Now, for those of you that have already been boots on the ground, you've had this experience. You know that you get out there and it looks completely different from what you expected. So, and I wanted Shelley to comment on this because she had that experience. She had spent some times in the outdoors, but certainly not this much, and certainly not looking for treasure. So what was our first recon together? Was that the Pilar? Yeah, mm-hmm. So I remember that. Kind of tell people what you discovered, what you thought about when we were doing that.
Okay. Well, number one, you need to be in good shape because there's a lot of climbing, stepping up onto boulders that you can, and others you might have to like sit and then shift and then get up, and it's going to take you hours to search through a dry riverbed like we did. It took us longer because we were recording everything, yeah. But it's quite an effort. And I was in really good shape because I had been training for that figure competition, so I was in really good shape. And still, it was quite the effort. And so you need to be prepared for that. You need to be prepared safety-wise, because the first time that we went up there, we went up a couple of times. The first time we were separated, our phones weren't working, and Toby couldn't get a hold of me, and he got a little worried. And so,
I got a lot worried.
you know, the next time we went up, we had walkie-talkies, we had whistles, we had, you know, a plan where we, you know, talked about where we're going to be and what we're going to do and how it's going to work before we split up, so that he knew that I was safe the whole time.
Well, can I make a point? I didn't just send her up the side of the mountain, you know, split up intention. You go up there, I'm going to wait down here, drink a beer. We were actually doing drone footage, and so the idea was for her, we knew where we were going, but we needed the drone shot of her going up the dry riverbed, the Arroyo Hondo. And so I sent her up, and then because she was wearing clothing that didn't stand out.
Something like this, so I kind of blended in with the boulders.
She blended in, and I couldn't find her. And then so I brought the drone back and started shouting, and realized I even if she shouted back, I couldn't hear her, and she probably couldn't hear me. So I started heading up the mountain, up the same dry riverbed, in order to get her. And by this time, she had started coming down because she watched the drone fly back. So she figured the shot was done. So the next time we did that, I had walkie-talkies for her, and I had an emergency whistle for her, and I had snake skins for her, for as much the cactus as for the rattlesnake. So make sure that if you're with a partner and you're sending them up a dry riverbed, that they're and you're not going with them for whatever reason, drone shots otherwise, make sure that they're perfectly safe and that you can remain in contact with one another. So
I'll leave that up there. And I remember that there was an Indian symbol that you were looking for, a Native American symbol you were looking for on a particular boulder.
Right.
And we drove and we went around and the different campgrounds, and we were looking all over for that. And you'd been up there several times, and still you forget where things are,
Right.
and all things start to look the same. That tree looks like that tree, or that rock looks like that rock. The path I was just on, which way was it going? Now, at this particular place, let's see, we crossed the river here, and then there's a path, right? Am I right?
Right. As you come across the river, you can head that direction towards the marsh or up around this.
Okay, so we went on the path. The first time we went, we took this nature trail. It was a marked nature trail.
Up here.
It was not rough. It was not a difficult climb or anything. I mean, somebody who's with children could do this. So, and we walked all the way around and back to the bridge, and that took us how long? About 90 minutes?
Closer to 2 hours.
Yeah, close to 2 hours. And that's just an easy walk, basically. So if you have to imagine if that was a difficult clearing of the brush, or which it is when you get past the path, it takes a lot longer and it's a lot more difficult, and you have to be a lot more careful about where you're stepping.
And then the other thing too is this looks like it's completely flat. It's not. It's at a slope, and that path leads up this way. At some point, there was a nice little juniper tree here that we played around with some rocks, but there was another path going this direction, and eventually there was a fence, and you'll see a picture if you go to our photos for Lander. There's a pair of fence posts crossed that had fallen one and crossed like an X, and there's a picture of Shelley going like that, standing on it, and that's off in this direction that we didn't show here. So
if you haven't been out, I would say if you've seen the recent movie Jumanji, or if you've done role-playing games like World of Warcraft or something, where you go out and you run through the forest and you gather the things and you go to the towns, you don't realize that all of that takes an incredible amount of strength and time.
Energy, water, and food. When you're up there, you can't ever eat enough. It just, you feel like you have to stop every once in a while and at least snack to keep up your level of energy. So, so one of the things that we don't, or that we do, is we made an agreement that we wouldn't leave home unless we knew specifically where warm waters halt. Now, the advantage for us is that our warm waters, and I'm not criticizing anybody else here, our warm waters halt in the New Mexico Game and Fish fishing regulations. And so it's real easy, literally, to pinpoint precisely where warm waters halt on certain rivers in northern New Mexico. This happens to be precisely where warm waters halt on the Cimarron River, and then this arrow represents heading the canyon down because the river flows by gravity and the nature of water, hydrodynamics flows that way. But when you get there, so this looks, okay, I get that, bunch of fallen trees, etc., etc. You get there, and it's a completely different look. This is, that spot right there is where that, oops, I didn't leave the X in, is where that X is. And it's, you have to assume it's in the center of the river because there's basically a line that goes across the river. One of the benefits of our definition of where warm waters halt using the Game and Fish regulations is that it's very exact. There's no question about where it happens and where it goes. And then once you do that, so one of the important things that we agreed upon is that we wouldn't go any place from this point forward, whether it's Lander or Salida, or we went up to Montana, that we wouldn't go there until we had pinpointed warm waters halt. And there are dozens, if not hundreds, of YouTube videos about various searchers going and looking for the treasure. And occasionally you'll see someone mention warm waters halt. There's a hot springs up in that direction. The disadvantage of not being able to pinpoint warm waters halt and where it intersects with the canyon down is that your treasure hunt falls apart really quickly. There tends to be, if you can't pinpoint that, you don't have clues to follow. You start making stuff up. I was watching that, and I'm sure part of this was the fact that they were on a television program. If you watch the Nightline video, and Dale and Cynthia take the crew to Grayling Creek, you can actually find the place. You can find the bridge that they stopped at, and you can see the direction they headed up Grayling Creek. I don't remember anybody ever mentioning in that program where warm waters halted. And I don't remember anybody going, well, here's warm waters halt, here's the canyon down, here's the put in below the home of Brown. It just fell apart until they're poking around in bushes and under rocks, looking for, another clue. And that's what's going to happen if you haven't established your at least your home of Brown in a very specific point and the canyon down that should intersect with that. Now, you can interpret the clues in a completely different way and say, no, I'm just going to do this freeform. If you do it freeform, you're going to spend a lot of money and a lot of time. I don't know how many searches, I think, between the two of them. And again, I'm not criticizing anybody. They've been on 165 searches. If any part of those searches have been like, let's start here and kind of wander around until we bump into the blaze, that can get very expensive very quickly. Those trips, if you're not 100 miles from Cimarron like we are, that's going to get really, really expensive really, really quick. So make sure at least you can pinpoint where warm waters halt and where the canyon down intersects with that. You've got a good start at that point, right? So my canyon down, you know what? That was something else I was going to say before, that something that Shelley and I agreed upon. We stopped looking for the treasure. We quit looking for the treasure and started looking for the blaze. And we brought that up in one of our early videos. Now, we're not at that point in the whole process of making clues, but we thought by finding the blaze, that gets us to a point where we could find the treasure. Again, you don't have to do, we don't go out on a recon looking for the blaze. We go out on a recon expecting to find where warm waters halt and a canyon down, and then looking for a put-in below the home of Brown. So the canyon down is pretty clear, in this case, and again, I'm just using our Cimarron Canyon recon. We're heading down the road. This is 64, New Mexico State 64, that cuts through Cimarron Canyon from Eagle Nest to Ute Park. That's down because that's the flow of the river. That's what direction it flows. And this is what it looks like once you get there. So this is the road. That's me looking for a put-in. But that's how it looks. It doesn't look anything like this. Now, this photo was actually taken during the winter months, and of course this was made during the summer or spring?
Late summer.
Late summer. So it looks a lot better, but you get a sense of what that road on the canyon down looks like. So the nice thing about it is we know just by looking on Google Earth and using the fishing regulations, we have at least discovered the first two clues. Then the next step is to determine how far too far to walk is. Now, we have we believe that not far but too far to walk is a reasonable distance that you would drive, that you wouldn't walk it, but you would drive it, but you're not going to be driving for 20 miles. And as an example, this again is the entirety of Cimarron Canyon and the state park, which ends at the little town of Ute Park, starts here. That's 7.6 miles total distance. And we feel that's a comfortable distance for a reference point of not far but too far to walk. And the assumption that we make is, well, and I'm going to tell you, it's not this exacting, but I'm going to use it as an example. If I can find a put-in below what I have imagined the home of Brown to be, then I feel like I'm on a very good track. So doing this takes more than one trip. If I can get to, in my case, Cimarron Canyon, and I can find where warm waters halt and a canyon down, I could drive home happy at that point because I've seen that. I may continue driving all the way down the road just to do a little exploration. And one of my cameras that I own is a Nikon camera that takes pictures and it records the GPS of the location of the picture. That it'll also do on your smartphone. Make sure you take those pictures of the places that you've been to get the GPS location so you can go back and look at that GPS coordinate on a map on your Google Earth or whatever you're using as a map, so you can compare what you see in that picture versus what you see on the surface of that two-dimensional map. So not far but too far to walk. Then, and again, I'm using examples here. You guys know that our home of Brown is based on the color brown, which are based on Van Dyke brown, which has a history in lignite deposits, coal deposits. And so at some point, I'm going to start looking for put-ins that are related to or below the home of Brown. And I'm going to start, what I'm really looking for is a place where a lignite deposit and a put-in kind of match. We found those up there. So now I'm warm waters halt, canyon down, not far but too far to walk, put in below the home of Brown. I'm at the kind of the 4 clue stage, and two of those, the last two, 3 and 4, are required that I be boots on the ground. And you have to look. You have to use your eyes and your other senses in order to get to that point. Now, it just so happens that in this case, the put-in below the home of Brown is coordinated with a place on the Cimarron River that one can cross without getting their boots wet. The Cimarron River, the Spanish word Cimarron in English means wild and untamed. So you could think about that being the no place for the meek, and that you have to continue crossing that, what was it, no place for biddies? Mm-hmm. That we talked about, crossing roads and things like that.
And waterways,
and
yeah.
Waterways, mm-hmm. Yeah. This is one of those situations where you definitely cross it. So, and then you're going to find yourself in a situation where you get there, you drive all morning, you get there, you make some video because you're there, and you both kind of know this place ain't funny enough. It's just not. It's too crowded. It's too mundane. It's
Wrong
nice.
kind of trees, and not many of them. And this particular place was crawling with people. Everywhere you looked, there was garbage.
Yeah, it wasn't. We shot some video there, and so that we had it. But once we got there, I think I've mentioned a couple of times before, as we were driving on the far side of this bridge over here, trying to get to the other side, we were driving through a small path where the willows were just basically dragging themselves across the side of my car as we were going down. Not that it was going to hurt it, but you could feel it. And then you get down there, and honestly, it was a party. There were people partying down there that didn't, we were okay with people partying, but it doesn't do much for a treasure hunt the location that you.
And there were dogs, and so it was.
And we have nothing against either people or dogs.
Yeah, so. It was scaring the mountain goat.
Yeah, Shelley saw a mountain goat over there. Got a couple of shots of that. So all of these photos, by the way, as I mentioned earlier on our photo albums on gypsieskiss.com that you can take a look at. We had fun making them. So.
All right. So
that's all I've got. That's the point we wanted to make today is that what you have to you have to do a couple of things. Number one, don't spend money going someplace if you don't have a good sense of where at least the first two clues are. And what I mean by the first two clues, a specific point at which warm waters halt and a point at which that location intersects with something that will take you in the canyon down. Now, if you want, you can interpret those clues completely differently from that, but we like following the KISS principle, and so
I like a Gypsy's Kiss. Keep it simple, super simple.
So my expectation is that the canyon down, the road taking the canyon down, is going to intersect with warm hot waters. And so if I can show her, here's our warm waters and here's the canyon down, then I can convince her to go with me so that we can start going not far but too far to walk. I mean, if we drive and we end up going past Ute Park and all the way to I-25, then obviously we didn't see anything that resembles a put-in, quote, below the home of Brown, unquote, then we're up the wrong track. But we found that out at that point. We got to a certain point. Maybe we need to go to a similar area that accomplishes the same thing. And I think I've mentioned in the past, there are at least 8 locations in northern New Mexico where warm waters halt specifically, and they are intersected by a road that takes the canyon down. So we haven't gotten to all of them yet. Okay, that's all I got.
Okay, so to stay in touch with us, subscribe to our YouTube channel at gypsieskiss.tv. Or if you want to join us live during a live broadcast, you can go to gypsieskiss.live. And that's for you Facebook people. That's where I suggest you would go now if you want to participate in the live chat.
Yeah, because we're going to start the open chat in just a few minutes. So if you want to participate, if you're on Facebook and want to participate on the YouTube chat, go to gypsieskiss.live.
Right.
That'll get you there.
Our blog is at gypsieskiss.com. And again, we have that new page just for photos, right?
Yeah. All our photo albums, 26 photo albums. So
wow. Find us on Instagram it's _gypsies_kiss. And we're on Twitter at @gypsies. And on Facebook at Gypsy's Kiss, of course. If you need to email us, it's gypsieskiss@gmail.com.
And again, if you can't get to the smart chat from your smart device, super chat.
Mobile.
If you can't get to super chat from your mobile device, please feel free to go to paypal.me, Gypsy's Kiss, and make a donation. We'll answer you, and if you want, you can tell us that you made a donation. We'll answer your questions anyway. But
we'll do like that.
Okay.
Okay.
You ready?
Do we turn off the live Facebook? Thumbs up.
Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and if you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe. You can subscribe at gypsieskiss.tv. The subscribe window will pop up, and you can go there, follow Baby Shusher's advice, and make sure you give us a thumbs up for this video. YouTube likes that. It makes it causes them to think higher of us. So.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to turn off the Facebook, and please join us.
Oh, they can't do chat?
From Facebook?
Can they see this?
They can see that.
Let's leave them on. So Facebook, we know that you can't see this in detail because you're not in the chat. If you just want to hang out and watch, please feel free. And then you can join us the next time on YouTube.
This was set to top chat.
Oh, no.
If I change it to live chat now,
you're gonna
it disappears?
You'll lose everything. So just go, I'm sorry. I should have warned you in advance.
All right. I
So
forgot that.
there's times in Top Chat that we can't see all of the comments. If for some reason you have a question and we didn't ask it, or you see it and we don't, let us know and ask the question again. And make sure you any question you're sending to us, start with an @AG, and what will happen is our name will pop up and it'll fill in the blank so that we know that you're asking us. So it's @ A Gypsy's Kiss.
Right. And that's
Is that
to
correct?
answer questions or tell us about your boots on the ground adventure.
Right. So let me get you over. Blah.
All right. Eric Schmidt is here.
Hey, Eric. How are you doing?
And yeah, we had some technical problems, but I think we got it figured out.
Oof. Yeah, it's ugly.
Dan Kirk says hi.
You know, while you're doing that, I'm going to go get a water bottle.
All right. Paul McGinty, good afternoon from the UK. Very nice. Edward Owen, hello from Boise. Man in the Barn, good afternoon. Steve Marilat, waving. Sean N.M., afternoon all. Rick Plank, hello from Cincinnati. Dale Richards, hello. Jimmy Fast.
There's Brian. Hey, Brian, thank you for all this help this week. It was all very helpful, both in terms of the idea of using OBS, and I think the solution, as I mentioned to you in the email this morning, is we're going to use Zoom in combination with OBS. But thank you for giving us that kind of direction. Your help was very much appreciated.
Yes. So Jimmy Fast has been boots on the ground 4 times, Man in the Barn 3 times. AJ21, hello. Lori James, hello. Big delay, yes, a little bit of a delay. Ken Saul, hello. B Cross, greetings. Steve Marilat's been out 1 time.
I don't know what it was for, but his
see.
message was retracted.
Read a couple of message retracted. Probably they were saying, oh, you guys are having problems today. And then they saw everybody else said that. So they're like, oh, never mind. Brian Eagle's been out once. Joey Perro, hello.
Hey, Joey, how are you doing?
Go ahead.
JL, Zero, Kira, AGK does half work. Yes, Kira, I understand that. Ryan's been out once. Paul McGinty, 0 boots on the ground. AJ, 0. Bill Cross, hey, Bill. Did you say Bill already? Once. Amy Smith, Hook'em Hogs.
0.
No, 0. It's not Hook'em Hogs. It's Suey. Or woo woo, something.
Yeah, moving on. Go
Moving
Hogs, whatever.
Ken Saul, 0.
0.
Paul Wood, 5 times. Wow, Paul, congratulations. Let's see who else we got. Kyle, 2 trips. Sean, 0, but don't worry about it, Sean. You'll get your chance.
And hello to
it'll be
Jeremy Milstead.
fun. So let's see, who did I miss? Hey, Jeremy, how are you doing? Durango, Colorado. What are you doing in Durango, huh? 40 plus. We've got 65
Wow,
today. So.
40 plus? Is that how many times you've been out?
How many you've been boots on the ground? Dang. I thought he was giving me the temperature.
The temperature.
Kyle, 2 trips. Stephen Marilot, Mary Green. Stephen, thank you for saying thanks to the mods. We appreciate it. Mary Green's been out once. For me, had other searchers, my solution 3 times. 0 times for Peter, Paul McGinty.
Peter,
So
Paul,
he's
and
in-
Mary. Look at that.
Peter, Paul, and Mary. Nice.
They're all together. Yay!
Okay, scroll down, Peter, Paul, and Mary there. Oh, thank you for your, who did that?
Oh.
Who is that?
Oops. Try it again. Paul Ammons, $20. What is your best knowledge and solutions of the clue?
JHLAWH. Oh gosh, let me see. What is it? Let me see. Put it.
Just heavy loads and water's
And water's
high.
high. So let me answer that real quick, Paul. We think it's a combination of a clue that involves boulders and falling water, but we don't believe necessarily that the falling water is a waterfall. I know that sounds crazy, but the heavy loads is going to be a location that is boulder prevalent, but boulder obvious, and then the water high is just that, a high water that's coming from a high place, but not necessarily a waterfall.
All right.
Time in Colorado.
AJ
AJ
Rainville. Zero. Jinx. Deborah Jensen, never have been.
Both, yeah. Well, everybody, that's the other thing too, is what we look forward to is hearing your stories about where you've been and how it was for you once you're out there. So
I like this one. What is your favorite memory from one of your past searches? Stephen Johns wants to know.
go ahead.
Oh, one of mine? I'd have to say the Lander trip, and watching Toby eat a cheese wheel. No, really. It was that trek that I showed you earlier with that path. It was just so cool. There, you got to go through so many different zones in just that small area.
Yeah.
It was very cool. Yeah, like you said, there was marshy areas, there were dry areas, there was, going up the hill, coming down the hill, trees, big rocks. It was very cool. I really enjoyed that place.
Yeah. When you said I got to see Toby eat I thought you were going to say I got to see Toby eat a boulder as he went down.
Oh, I didn't say that.
Oh, so, yeah, I took a big dive in the in Sinks Canyon.
In a boulder field. Speaking
of
boulders.
Field, yeah. So.
What was your favorite, though?
Oh,
that wasn't your
my
favorite.
So, I think my favorite was standing across that railroad bridge on the Arkansas River in Browns Canyon, and just the immensity of everything that we were doing and how beautiful it was. And both Shelley and Kevin were with me at the time, and it was wonderful having good friends out. And the trip itself was a grand trip because we stayed in Salida and ate dinner in some really nice restaurants. And it was just, I think the whole trip, kind of the Salida thing, because I was with friends. Up until that time, I had always traveled alone. Not that I have a problem traveling alone, but it was very different. It shortened the drive up and the drive back. And Kevin has just the funniest sense of humor. He can make me laugh with almost anything he says. It's very dry, but he's funny. He's got a very clever wit. And it was just fun. It was just a fun trip for me because it was different.
And we're going to go back this summer.
Yeah.
Because we just like it.
Yeah. Yeah, not even necessarily a search. We might throw some searches in there. But
yeah, Salida.
Okay, Brian, that was you. Boots on the Ground with T.L. Mattis.
Oh.
Once, but still so their sisters, Cindy and T.L.
Mm-hmm.
Once, but studying since 2013. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
Love to all 7 times Boots on the Ground, found the blaze going back after the melt. Wow. So it might not be there when we go. Well, do us a favor, David, and let us know when you're going out so that we don't go out afterwards and waste all that time and money. Stephen Johns, AGK, unfortunately, because of health issues, will never be able to put boots on the ground. Just really enjoy a good mystery. And we can understand that. And, what we recommend to people who are in similar situations is that you find one of the other searchers who might be going in that direction, and would look for you, to work out your solution. So,
Peter Longan says hello.
Hey, Peter, how are you doing? Let's see. But first, let me take a selfie.
I think that's when I turned on the Facebook Live.
Oh, okay.
He was kind of teasing.
So that's my reminder. I don't know what to do over there. AGK 0 times Boots on the Ground, working on Kalazar's Grand Adventure puzzle number 3 and listening to AGK. Life is good. Yeah, that's a good place to be. So
that's Brian Popelman.
Edward Owen, Boots on the Ground 4 times 8,000 miles. Wow.
Wow.
See, and it does that. If there's anybody who can tell you how much that kind of travel, if you're uncertain, can cost you. You travel that much, and it's going to get expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Man in the Bar, Stephen John, should look for some armchair hunts. Hello from Bama.
Steve Smitherman.
Alabama. Those aren't the Hogs. That's Arkansas, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm confusing Amy. Steve? Talk to Amy. She's from Arkansas, so you probably have a competition going. Eric Smith, you guys are out of sorts today. You know what, Eric? Yeah, I think you're right. We're a bit off, aren't we? I could tell, and it started with the because we had the technology was a little bit off, and I think it threw us off because it was going fine, and then literally 5 minutes before we started, everything crashed, and we had to look for options to make sure that we got on YouTube, and we were late. So yes, thank you for noticing.
But that always happens when you try new technology. You just have to work out the bugs. And nobody ever said being a YouTube star was easy.
We're not quite YouTube stars yet, but
well, speak for yourself.
So isn't it funny that it's noticeable?
What?
That we're out of sorts today.
Oh well.
6. Bill Gorman.
Timothy Alkire.
The wise
6.
mammoth is in the house. Alkire. AGC 6. Bill, hey, how are you doing, sir? Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us today.
BJ Chambly, hello.
Let's see, Man in the Barn, now it's a party. Steve Merrill, now it's a party because Bill's in the house.
Oh, Mark Harl, 0 times, but he's in Sweden, so he or she, I'm not sure.
Keep going just a little bit higher for me. AGK, do you have plans to get a 4K camera, or is that not supported well for live feeds? Nice work. No, when you're doing live feeds, YouTube limits you to, I have a 4K, I have more than one 4K camera actually, but YouTube limits you to 720p. So it doesn't make any difference if you have a 4K or not. The sensors that we have on all our products provide more than enough resolution to be able to handle the 720p. And then of course, not only that, YouTube, when you're using their stream, actually down threads you a little bit, so you don't always get the best quality no matter what camera you're doing, unless you get into the whole USB HD converters, etc., etc. We're not going to do that.
We're having enough trouble right now.
Yeah, we've got a solution that works for us. We played around with it today and paid the price. So yeah, we won't be doing anything.
It's okay. We're trying.
Okay, 2 times. Steve Smitherman, AGK 0, boots on the ground so far. Mike Hodge, okay, that went back then. Hi, Lori, how are you doing? 1, but new place to go this late spring. Yes, good one. So, boots on the ground. Bill Gorman, boots on the ground searchers, Trump couch searchers. Yes, Bill, we don't. I wasn't sure where you were going with the Trump comment there, but I don't know necessarily they Trump them. I mean, there are a lot of people that. Who are unable to go boots on the ground and who enjoy, the puzzle of the poem and looking online for some of their solutions. Somebody just released, I wish I could remember the name of it, somebody just released a really well done documentary style video about this gentleman who lives in Albuquerque and thought he had it all figured out and went looking for things. His home of Brown turned out to be the house of Ron Brown, the realtor up in the Hemis area. So, but the documentary was really well done for a short documentary. I was impressed. Hey, Toby, you got to pay the bill or they cut off internet. Yeah. Yeah, and I guarantee you Comcast, Xfinity, make sure I pay that bill every month. At Mary Green, Virgil Kane is my name. 8 times, multiple times in the same place. Yeah, we're very much about multiple times in the same location, Virgil. I think you have to do that. Man in the Barn, any suggestions? Amy Smith, I have 2 small kids that have to tag along, so I haven't gone anywhere yet, but I have a place to go once I can. Amy, Forrest says you should be able to take your kids. I don't know how small your kids are, but he says you should be able to take your kids with you. So, AGK, tell us about your Chama recon. That was an early recon for me. As a matter of fact, I think it may have been my first recon. That was the recon that I went on right after I purchased the book and did what everybody else does, which is, oh, hell, I know exactly where this is. and I did the whole Where Warm Waters Halt, the home of the big brown, the world record, or the New Mexico record brown trout, and headed canyon down. I had it all figured out. And I convinced my son to go with me. And then so we went out and we had this plan where we were going to spend the day out searching. And then we're going to come back and stay in a hotel and then spend the next day out. And what happened is, as we had gone out, I parked the car in a location, And we walked from that point forward. As we were coming back, it started raining really, really hard. Location I parked the car in rained out, basically. It not only flooded before we could get back up the hill, but then everything up there turned into this red, sticky, ugly clay. And what you do? Oh, is somebody asking questions?
They were just saying hi.
Oh, okay. Hi, Facebook. And so we ended up not being able to get to be able to ford this flood that washed through. So we had to stay the night. And although we had emergency equipment with us, we didn't have time to set up a tent, things like that. So what ended up happening in order to get it, so the next morning we're kind of blurring, trying to make some coffee to get around, and all of a sudden these four guys in this huge four-wheel drive pickup truck with huge tires come down the muddy side of the hill, back up the muddy side of the hill that we're on, and they're going like, "Hey brother, what's going on?" And I said, "Hey, we can't get out of here." And they were filled with all kinds of equipment. He says, "Well, we were scouted. They were scouting for the upcoming deer hunt, which was going to start the next weekend. So the four of them were just scouting." He said, "We'll get you out of here when we come back out." So we raided around, had our coffee, cleaned up, tried to get around the flood was gone, but it was just mud. It was this red, cakey mud. Couldn't get past that. They came back. We hooked up a chain to the back of my car. I put Jason, my son, in their vehicle, and they basically towed me up the side of this muddy hill, and the mud was literally coming off their wheels and covering my windshield, so I couldn't see what was going on. And so it was just whipping on the end of this chain. It was a pretty exciting little trip.
Now, why would you not go back to Chama to look for the treasure?
Because I couldn't get past the Home of Brown. The rest of I can get past Canyon Down and Home of Brown, but after that it just all fell apart. So it's fenny enough until you get down.
Sounded like
to
it was
desert.
no place for the meek.
Yeah, it was definitely no place for the meek. It was a beautiful trip. I mean, it was a fun trip. We had a great time together.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure. That's the one where I decided, no, it's not on that side of the Rocky Mountains. So who asked that question? Was that Cindy?
Cindy.
Yeah,
Cindy Guess.
Cindy. Forrest Fenn, Stephen Johns. He's been to Yellowstone National Park.
Alan
Did you
Kay.
explain that it's so different that the smart searchers don't count on their cell phones? You need GPS for no roads. That's right. So once you get up there, one of the things that you're going to discover is you're in a canyon and you're away from effectively civilization, and you're mostly away from cell phones. So you're going to lose all cell phone connections, including if there are applications you can download that enable you to use your GPS, but unless you've downloaded the maps beforehand, the GPS isn't going to make you any difference. You'll see the numbers, but you're not going to see them in reference to a map. So there are a couple of GPS applications that enable you to download the maps before your trip. You can do that, and then you can turn your smartphone into a GPS device.
Just real quick again, if you're watching on Facebook and we would like to participate in the live chat, just go to www.agypsieskiss.live.
Amy Smith, how far can a searcher get from online searches until boots on the ground are required? Like how many of the 9 clues can be solved before you can get in the car? So here's our experience. I'm not going to tell you what to do because that just ends up in a debate that neither one of us is going to win. If you can pinpoint with geographic exactitude your home of Brown, and if that location, if that pinpoint intersects with a canyon down or a road that takes a canyon down, that's enough to go. Now, you also, as we said last week, should have at least visualized what your home of Brown is.
Okay, you just said if you know where the home of Brown is and it intersects with the canyon.
I'm sorry. I meant, thank you for catching that. I meant you have to know with geographic exactitude where your warm waters halt, and it has to intersect with a canyon down. You also have to have a good sense. We know what we're looking for when we're looking for our home of Brown. We're looking for lignite deposits. We don't know exactly what they look like, but we know what to look for. So if you have at least your warm waters halt and your canyon down, and you have visualized all or any or all of the remainder of the clues in order, then you can head out. If what you have is warm waters halt and canyon down, and you have a 90% probability that you figured out the blaze, stay home, because it's not going to happen that way. The clues, we believe, have to be followed in consecutive order. So you have to not only visualize each one, you then have to find it, and then after you find it, you have to pinpoint it on a map so you can get back to that location. So we do not believe, this is our opinion, we do not believe that you can visualize all 9 clues from the comfort of your lazy boy lounger or the chair at your desk. New York City. Oh. Scroll down one. Was that a question from Lori? Oh no, she's just giving some advice. Blackwater. I don't believe that's true. Santa Fe is at 7,000 feet. And when you're going north from Santa Fe, you're actually going to higher altitudes. So the elevation cannot possibly be 2,000 unless you're looking at meters and not feet. Mm. Stephen Marilyn, what's boots on the ground? Travel together. Drones are where it's at. Yeah. Go ahead.
Libra, something.
Where? No, that's the Omega.
Oh.
AGK, do you seriously recommend snake gators? There are certain locations in northern New Mexico, yes. I wouldn't go up without them, and I certainly wouldn't send Shelley up a dry creek bed off of the Rio Grande without rattlesnake skins, is what I call them. But yeah, there are certain places where I would recommend that. The western rattlesnake reaches all the way over from eastern New Mexico to western New Mexico across those mountains. So, let's see. So, Blackwater, you can find it with a drone and POV goggles, easier than boots on the ground, especially if it's where an old man can't go. I guess that assumes a couple of things. Number one, that you can actually pick it. I don't know. I have really good drones with really good cameras, and once you're about 50 feet, you're not going to be able to distinguish a 10 by 10 image on your camera, even if you are.
Yeah.
Even if you are.
He just told you how hard it was to find a person out there walking around.
Jimmy went up the same riverbed too.
The Arroyo Hondo?
Arroyo Hondo, yeah. Let's see.
And he only found tin cans up there, and that's what I found too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, aluminum cans, right?
Yeah.
And beer pop tops.
Yeah, garbage.
Scroll up for me, please. All right. So, I like the conversation you guys are having here. That's really cool. I'm glad that you guys are doing that. Warm waters is critical. That's not a question. It's just wow. Not a lot of AG questions are talking to each other, which is kind of fun.
Okay.
Amy Smith, put in, she relates to Vladimir Putin. Several blazes along this route. Amy, it's the Russians. Yeah, the Ruskies. Yes. See, man in the barn? That's it. The Russians are on to us. They keep stealing our videos. Wow. 35 times.
For
wow.
Peter Longen.
So they hacked Forrest Fenn's emails. The treasure is covered by 2 feet of snow. Thank you, Bill. AGK, why the lignite deposit? I won't go through the whole thing. Who is that?
Edward Owen.
So we did a video on our definition of the Homer Brown a while back. It's been several months now. Take a look at that. But basically, we went back and decided that the reason the B was capitalized in Brown was it was Fenn's. It was a way of Fenn recognizing his relationship with Eric Sloane, who was a painter, not only a writer, but a painter of some note. Brown was one of his favorite colors. He especially was, he favored Van Dyke Brown, and he mentions it in his book, 80. And Fenn re-mentions it. Fenn actually copies that section verbatim out of where Sloane talks about Brown. Fenn copies that paragraph and he put it in his book called 80. And so we started looking into Brown from Sloane's perspective as a color. Van Dyke Brown, if you trace the color back to its roots, it came from coal deposits, lignite deposits. And they extracted that and then extracted the liquid from the lignite and then transformed that into the color brown. So that's how we got to that point.
Well, since we're talking about the Homer Brown, you want to talk about tomorrow night?
Wait till we get. Let's go. Thank you. Well, Amy, what is Trump trying to take over our public lands? No, he doesn't. I'm not even worried about that. Yeah, let's keep politics. No politics. We're not. We only have our political opinions. We respect everybody's political opinion. We do not discuss them here. We have enough to talk about. Let's see. If you don't have a home about, no, I'm going. AGK.
Are you fine where I'm?
I can. I think you were okay.
I think I went too far.
Oh, you did?
Mm-hmm. Didn't I?
Wow, that popped it way up. Oh, that's why. Thank you for who did that.
$4.99.
Sean N.A.M., thank you, sir. Forrest has said that he hid the treasure before the poem was complete. So what parts of the poem do you believe were complete after hiding the chest? I don't, so we've thought about that, Sean. We don't think that there were whole stanzas and things like that. We think after he hid the treasure and he backtracked in order to validate the clues that he wanted to use, we believe that it was more of a refinement than it was either a complete or significant rewrite of the poem. We think that there were some changes that he made to get the benefit not only of the validation of his clues, of his physical clues, but the refinement of his poetic approach. So we don't think it was a great big change. We think it was, 90% done, and then he came back and made a couple of refinements. Thank you for your super chat.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
Here we go.
Okay, Virgil Kane is my name. Amy Smith, White. Oh, Trump. Amy, stop it. AGK Shelley, connection made to Mountain Goat. Thank you.
I don't know what that means.
You mentioned Mountain Goat. Amy got something out of that.
Okay.
She's your other empath. She's the other one. Sean Malloy, AGK, do you think it's a good rule of thumb then if you park your car around other cars, it's best not to park at all? Well, considering that he said that people have been within 500 feet and other searchers have been within 200 feet of the treasure, the simple fact of the matter is you're going to have to deal with civilization. He did. He drove his car there. He parked his car someplace, and he walked away from his car in order to put the treasure, and he did that twice in an afternoon, according to him. So I think for me, the difference would be what we found at the John Dunn Bridge which was basically a big party area. Not only parked cars, but a lot of people. It was like a park. It was more like a county park than it was a state park. We've been up in places. I think I've mentioned before. I've been at this for 5 years now. 27 recons. Shelley's been on 5 of those, and we have yet to run into another searcher. They're just not out there. They're not, there's not that many people doing what you're doing. If you're going up to Cimarron, there are some people going hiking, because as you go up the various trails and as you go off the trails, there seems to be this thing about establishing cairns now. And so I don't know what's going on there, but there seems to be a lot of them. So I think if it feels to you like a big party area, that's different from if there's other cars parked. Because I think there can be some other cars parked.
If they're there to fish.
Yeah, they could be there to fish, to picnic, a lot of other things. I wouldn't park in like a picnic area, AGK, do you know what kind of vehicles Fenn has driven over the past 10 years? I do not. Dale Richards, what are your feelings? I can't see this word here. What are your feelings about being downhill from public transportation or where he parks his car? Doesn't Fenn say his plan was to throw his bike in deep water near the treasure? I've never made that connection. I've heard that people say that and kind of make that connection, Dale. I've never actually made the connection. He's been very clear about what he's done. He drove his car. He walked from his car in 2 trips, each with a load of about 20 pounds, and then he drove home in his car. I know there's been other connections made that way. We haven't made those connections.
Thank you. We have an excellent channel.
Oh, thank you, Blackwater. We appreciate it. Lori has to leave for an appointment. Watch later. Thank you. Thanks, Lori. Nice. Thank you for joining us today. Let's see. AGK, do you think that he could have instructions in the chest how to find the second treasure, the one that he is watching, thus he will know that the... I do not. David, we decided upon a certain number of assumptions that we had to start with in order to do that. If you want to make that assumption, if you want to make an assumption that there's something in the treasure that takes you to a second treasure that is hidden near him, you can do that. We make the assumption based on what he said. He hid a treasure in the mountains north of Santa Fe, and it's this size, and it contains these objects. And there may or may not be additional instructions, but we have to go with that assumption. Otherwise, almost anything can, you get to the point where almost any hypothetical will influence your assumptions and therefore influence how you look for the treasure. So we have a set of assumptions that we worked with. We talked about them last week. And until proven otherwise, and if you had evidence that were instructions in the chest how to find the second, if there's evidence that indicates that might be true, then maybe I would change my assumptions. But to the best of my knowledge, there is no evidence proving that or indicating that that is true. What I have to believe is that the evidence indicates that Forrest Fenn hid a 10 by 10 by 5 box filled with gold and other valuables in the mountains north of Santa Fe, and then challenged us to find it with a poem. And we stick to that assumption until somehow or the other that's proven to be incorrect. And hypothesis, a hypothetical, is not proof. It's just that. It's a hypothetical. Oh, are we going back?
Well, it's up here, but we already said that.
Kind of vehicles driven. I do not know that.
You wrote that one twice.
Let's see. AGK, I've been following the treasure since 13 or 14. I'm planning a trip with my dad for our first boots on the ground. Congratulations. That should be fun, Joey. I think going with a family member is a really good idea, especially somebody you really care about. So, have you changed your mind about Reverend Tolby? Oh, Cindy, you're so sneaky. You really keep track of the things that I said. So It depends what you mean about change my mind. He is part of our thinking in terms of our solution. We haven't been able to completely validate it yet. That will be part of the next trip that we take up there. AGK, how are you incorporating traveling through space and circumstance in your solution? Phil, we do not travel through space, but we do travel through time in our solution. And space would to me would be the 3 dimensions that we're moving through anyway, with time being the 4th dimension. And we do consider that the 4th dimension. We think traveling through space, a 3-dimensional space, is what we're doing anyway. I read one last week defining all deep lakes and deep rivers as warm water and shallow streams. Oh, Dale, you haven't seen our video. Okay, so Dale, first of all, you should probably go look at a number of our videos where we talk about warm waters. The papers, if you go to the New Mexico fishing rule book, which you can download in a PDF, do a Control F search for warm waters, and you will find an explanation of how the state of New Mexico sees warm waters. And then 2 pages after that, you'll see exactly where the warm waters are. To the best of my knowledge, there is nothing else in any of the other 3 search states that use the phrase exactly warm waters. They do use warm water, and there are white papers that talk about warm water species versus cold water species, and the requirements for each. The state of New Mexico is the only state and has the only written document that uses the phrase warm waters in the plural. And so, Dale, it's not a geological paper. It's actually the New Mexico fishing rules. Yes, started beginning of the warm waters, even if this location warm waters halt. So there is no dam. There is a dam up there, the dam that dams Eagle Nest Lake and releases the water into the Cimarron River. You actually can't get up there. Well, you can. The water, the Cimarron River from Eagle Nest Dam to where it intersects with Route 64 is referred to as the holy water. It's very specifically designed for fly fishermen. You have to pay to get in there, and there's a little store in, I don't know if it's an Eagle Nest or Taos, that you can make reservations to fish it. Otherwise, the gate is locked, and you can't go from 64 up to Eagle Nest Dam. In our case, the warm waters halt on the other side of the river and align with the eastern boundary of Tolby Campground. Ryan, so AGK, what led you move away from the Western Interior Seaway being warm waters halt and focusing on New Mexico fishing regulations instead? We had been proponents of the New Mexico fishing regulations before. I was looking, what happened is we had developed a story about Fenn having possibly hidden the treasure in 2002 or 2003 near the Lander area. And since I didn't have the New Mexico fishing regulations in Wyoming, and since the Wyoming fishing regulations don't use warm waters in the plural, they use warm water species and cold water species, I needed another way to look at warm waters. So I started going back in the dimension of time and discovered the Western Interior Seaway and noticed that the Wind River Range, with that little appendage that comes out near Lander, fit the bill exactly and gave us a starting point. So it isn't that we ever gave up on warm waters in New Mexico. We just needed to develop something for the Lander area. So
yeah, but then too many things told us it's not there. So we went back to New Mexico.
Mr. G, AGK, what do you think the lines your effort will be worth the cold and if you are brave and in the wood mean. I believe they mean exactly what they say. That is, if you've been out and in the cold looking for the treasure, or in the wood. I think wood, poetically speaking, has been used by more than one poet to describe the forest. If you've been in the wood, as a place to describe the forest. We think the clues are between the lines where, and again, this is one of our assumptions. We think the clues are between the lines, begin at where warm waters halt, which is what Fenn has told us, and look quickly down, your quest to cease. So if that's where the clues are, the rest of the poem has to have a reason for its existence, and we believe the reason is to establish authenticity, ownership, and title transfer.
And cold rhymes with gold.
Yeah.
Although measure rhymes with treasure, so.
AGK, have your searches led you to any locations that you connected with personally? Maybe a place or places you want to return, not looking for the treasure. I have always had a connection with the Cimarron because I fished there. I've always had a connection with the Red River. Well, okay. So I had personal connections to most of the trout waters north of Santa Fe before I started looking for treasure. And the reason is I fished most of those trout waters, both learning from my father and on my own. So I had a connection. I'm not sure I would have referred to any of them as my special place. And as I go back there, each time I go back there, of course, I love watching the changes that that having nature make changes does. But I don't know necessarily that I've got that kind of connection to them. Let me qualify something. So each of us has a connection to something, and I know this is kind of strange hearing from somebody who was born and raised in New Mexico and now lives in New Mexico. My connection is to my special place. My special place is on a sailboat in the Chesapeake Bay. That's where my dreams and fantasies come to play. How does Fenn say that? My connection has always been to, well, not always, since I moved out east a long time ago. My connection has always been to saltwater and to sailing, and that's where I feel probably the way Fenn feels when he discovered his special place in the mountains. So I love the mountains, especially because I'm here, but give me a sailboat and some seawater and a nice wind, a 10 to 12 knot wind, and my life is perfect. Let's see, Brave in the Wood, give you title a go, 8 miles north of Santa Fe. John Kennedy, is the 8.5 miles north of Santa Fe something should be taken as fact? So what he said basically, the problem is you have to interpret a lot of things in order to get the fact. What he said, what Fenn was trying to avoid is people were digging up homes inside Santa Fe, and so to correct that problem, he made a comment that the treasure, I don't know that he actually said 8.5 miles. I think it's 8.25, 66,000 lengths. He made a comment about the treasure being north of Santa Fe, and he did that not to give us a hint or a clue. He did that because people were digging up other people's backyards. So I think it should be taken as fact simply because at that point, if you know Santa Fe and you're not 8.25 miles, you're going to be in somebody's backyard. You're going to be in a lot of private property because there's a lot of land grant land up there. So yes, to answer your question, yes, I think you should. What were your warm waters hole locations when searching in the states north of New Mexico? Each one had a different one. When we were in Colorado, there was a warm spring at the let's see, that would have been the eastern facing side of the mountain that led you down to the Arkansas River. In Lander, it was the Western Interior Sea, the shore of the Western Interior Seaway. In Pilar, it was the Taos Junction Bridge.
That's in New Mexico. That's not north of New Mexico.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So, Eric Schmidt. Was that the AGK, nothing personal, just an observation that we were off? Yeah, no, I understand. We felt a little bit off because we knew that that our technical difficulties, what we were experiencing, made us late and rushed and stuff like that. So we understand it's nothing personal. It's just interesting that you know us well enough to notice that we're a bit off. Hello from Baltimore. I love Baltimore. I love the Inner Harbor.
T. Lee Jones. Is that Tommy Lee Jones?
Have sailed into the harbor and stayed there overnight. And what's that area, the shopping area that they have there? Inner Harbor is beautiful. Baltimore Inner Harbor is beautiful. Let's see. Why do you not look at national parks or monuments? Legal problems are likely no matter where you put it. You already said you would take and not tell, so why limit your search? We don't try to place limitations on our search, Dale. National monuments and national parks, just the legalities, even if you did keep it secret, are just not worth the trouble. And we have to make an assumption that Fenn made it as difficult as he could with the puzzle that he created for us, without creating additional difficulty of the potential of placing it in a national monument area or a tribal area or private property. I just don't think he would. It is our opinion that I don't think he would do that. He wanted the search to be difficult based upon a resolution of the clues in the poem and maybe the hints in the book, if there are any. I don't think he wanted to create additional problems by placing it someplace where, and Fenn's a bit of a libertarian. He's not a big fan of the government. He's a small government kind of guy. And so I don't think he wanted to place that burden on the searcher.
Hello from Chattanooga, from Belva.
Chattanooga, Tennessee. Let's see. AGK, do you assume you can find Home Around on Google Earth or just Warm Waters Halt and Canyon Down? Wait, okay, let me go through this question. Do you assume you can find Home Brown on Google Earth? We do not make that assumption. Or just Warm Waters Halt? Yes. And Canyon Down, because it needs to intersect for us. And Home Brown must be identified with boots on the ground. So as we said last week, Ryan, you should have in your head your visualization of what Home Brown. So we know based on our analysis, this is not absolute, this is our analysis, we know that our Home Brown is associated with a lignite deposit. You cannot see, as you saw in the pictures that I showed today, you can't see a lignite deposit from Google Earth. You have to be boots on the ground. But in order to identify it, you have to know what you're looking for. So once you define what your Home Brown is, whether it's like in this video that this guy made, Ron Brown Realty, then you have to visualize it and know what to do when you get there. So so you can visualize your Home Brown, and then once you get there, you know what you're looking for. But I don't think you can see Home Brown on Google Earth. Edward Owen, thank you, sir. $10. Do you think it's possible Forrest Fenn took 2 trips on 2 separate days to hide the treasure? Is that all outside possibility because treasure was too heavy? No, we do not. We take him at his word that he made the trip in the trip in one day, that he parked his car, and that he made 2 walking trips from his car in order first to move. I think it is said that he moved the treasure first. I remember reading someplace, and I thought it was odd that he took the treasure first and then he took the box, which I would have done just the opposite. So no, I don't believe it was multiple days. I believe it was done all in one day. That he left his home, did his thing, you know, congratulated him himself for being such a great guy, and then drove home and had dinner with Peggy. What were your Warm Waters Halt? Okay, where am I at?
Eric said he saw that documentary that you were talking about.
Yeah, it was down Ron Brown Realty will be around 1,000 years, but who knows? Yeah, Ron leaves it to his son, and so you're at Ron Brown the 25th. I don't know. Yeah, it was a well done. It was a well done, very well produced documentary. Well shot, well produced. I was impressed.
Kids are small, 2 and 5. 2's a little small.
Yeah,
not real stable yet.
Yeah.
Legs aren't long, and they just can't keep up with adults. So.
There's cactus that are taller than them.
Yeah, 2's a little small.
Yeah,
5 is getting getting
up there. I don't think you could do it with a 2-year-old.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so Bill insists that Homer Brown is visible on Google Earth but not labeled. Oh, there's Sean. Documentary was Finding the Blaze. Yeah, look it up. They had about 500 views when I saw it last. It was kind of cool. The guy is very personable. He was, not I don't think he's an actor, but he was in Albuquerque. He lives in Albuquerque. His wife was being very patient with him. And he got that, hey, I know where this is, and let me look in the HEMAS. And like Bill, he started seeing things in the Google Earth. I think he finds the blaze. That's it. He finds the word blaze in some of the geographic areas up around the HEMAS. So, but again, it was, and then he gets back at the end. He goes, well, I won't do that again. But it was a well done video. I was impressed. Let's see. AGK, why don't you ask David Dow? I'm not going to ask anybody where their search. Full-time RV on the hunt. Man in the barn.
Amy Smith.
AGK, maybe we need to answer the question that Forrest Fenn asks in the poem before we can use the clues.
Why is it that I must go and leave my trove for all to seek?
He answers that. And Amy, if you look at there's a couple of videos on where we talk about the legalities associated with that. He has to answer that question in order to establish ownership, and then he did this of his own free will. That's why that question is there, because that's what a court would ask why did you do this? Why he's answering that question because he may not be around when the treasure is found and it's announced.
What time is our phone call?
Our phone call is at 3:30.
Okay, it's 2:30.
Okay. Hello, fellow Finlings. Hey, Nikolai. Let's see. What's your question, Eric? The one's in a wink. Oh, okay. Let's see. I could be in the Fen zone in 1.5 hours.
Okay.
That's because you're living in an RV.
That's right. AGK, hello from Southern Indiana. I've been out 0 times.
Hey, Crow, how are you doing? Southern Indiana is a good part of the good part of the United States. Eric and Amy, that question began a speech called
Hypophora.
Eric Schmidt, okay, Stephen, and hey guys, you know what I really like here is that you guys are having a conversation amongst yourself. I think that is really neat. That you don't need to wait for me. Let's see. Toby's right, in my opinion. Okay. Thank you, Stephen. Okay, 45,000 miles. When I find it, okay. Hey, David, we appreciate that. Break the fine on our show. Just come on, let everybody know, tell them where you found it, and we'll figure out how to post some pictures.
For a small fee, we'll do a nice interview. A couple of those gold coins.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was the end. Okay. Oop. And it popped again. Ugh. Have I got there yet? No?
I can't tell. You're scrolling. Let's see. Where did you get eating the treasure? Let's see. This guy's talking. What?
I don't know. Did I miss something?
Okay, AJ21 asks, AGK, could too far to walk cover be the hint for the clue, not far but too far to walk, crossing a small stream? Could too far to walk cover? Oh, you're asking about the cover. AJ, that falls into our Fenn died in December 2010 rule. So we don't look at it from that perspective. We got what happened before December 2010 is what we work with. That's where our assumptions come from. Nikolai stayed a night near Eagle's Nest. Nice place to stay. AGK took my 3 daughters to New Mexico last year for multiple trips around Angel Fire. Good one. We learned about how you can't hide from
p.m. mountain hailstorms.
Yeah, no, that's true. Although we huddled under some ponderosa branches, great times. It's a wonderful area. It's a beautiful area. The people of Eagle Nest are good people. You're not far from Angel Fire, which happens to have a couple of really good restaurants. And if worse gets to worse, you're over the mountain range from Taos, which has a lot to offer. Roll Tide. Oh, that's the Alabama one.
Joel Lewicki's here. Better late than never.
Hey, Joel. How are you doing? Hey, maybe it's good that you're here late because we were a bit off earlier.
Yeah, don't go back.
Okay, David, I've learned he doesn't actually have... No, I'm not going to do that. So he does it. David, so AGK, 80-year-old man going down here, 20-pound pack, and with walk-on poles, BLM land. You start with that. Warm water, school water begins. Your thoughts?
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a question that Chris Matthews would ask. So,
and then he'd interrupt you as you started to talk.
yeah, exactly. So, David, I can't answer a question like that because I'd have to get
questions
into your
need to start with who, what,
where,
when, where, why, how.
Yeah. Let's see. AGK, in my opinion, effort will be worth the cold is worth all the effort you put in during the winter working on the solution. Yeah, I think that's a good analysis.
I like that.
Mr. G, AGK, do you believe there are hints within the poem aside from the 9 distinct clues given? What about any words in the poem meant to throw one off? I don't think either of those conditions exist. Treasure is in a summer rainforest. Very good, Bill. That's almost poetic. Well done. Let's see. Has Forrest ever been asked how old Brown is? Not to the best of my knowledge, Joshua.
But he said all the clues existed when he was a child, right?
No, he has a different way of saying that. That Eric Schmidt could remember this. He has a very funny way of saying it. It's like all the clues existed, all the physical locations existed. The way he answered it is he indicates that, but the words in the poem, the equivalent of the words in the poem. So even though I can tell you Dalton Canyon existed when I was a child, my description, my poetic description of Dalton Canyon didn't exist until later. Right, I think that's how that phrase comes out to me.
So likely Brown is at least as old as Fenn. If not older.
Brown, yes, I think that's true for all the clues. I think the clues have to have some sort of longevity, not only in his perspective, from his perspective, but from our perspective. Look at this. They're talking to each other. I love that. There are 100... Oh, scroll up. David, I can't answer those questions.
Oh, wait. Got another super chat.
Nice. Wow.
Zinger.
Zinger. That is a zinger. Zinger, have you discussed the Brown put-in off Highway 89? No, sir, we have not. Or no, ma'am. Also, there is a book that says Joe Meek was run off by Indians at the mouth of the Tom Miners Creek, which is too far to walk, and downstream from there. Any thoughts? We've read Meek's story, and in particular that part of his story. I don't think it's defined in his journal. I actually think that part comes from somebody else's journal. I'm trying to remember who. I can't remember. We did track it down while we were there. We didn't. It's not in an area that we feel works with our definition of the clues. So, and we haven't been up that far, and that's the other thing too. Is it's much farther north. You're up in that Wyoming, Montana area. We're not going to go back there.
But thank you for the super chat
thank
donation.
you for the super chat. That was very kind. Yes. I wish. Ask me a question about New Mexico, so I can.
So we can make up for that.
Yeah. Let's see. He said he did in one afternoon trips. Yeah.
Oops, there it popped up again, and I was holding tight to it too. There, okay.
Okay, Edward Owen. AGK maybe Forrest reasoning was that the treasure would be more secure in a hiding spot than leaving it in his car. Perhaps that is why he took it first. It could be. I would have to make a bunch of assumptions, and I don't know necessarily they're important to the matter of sure.
If it doesn't get us closer to the treasure, then...
Sarban, hey guys, made it to the tail end, but I'm here.
Yay.
I don't know if this is going to be the tail end, buddy. We've been at this for a while.
Right.
How long does a drive to San Luis take from Santa Fe for you? What kind of driver is Forrest? I'm guessing slow cruise type of enjoying the drive. I don't know exactly. I haven't done that drive in a while. You can't drive slow on New Mexico roads because everybody around you is driving at least the speed limit and sometimes faster. So
usually faster.
If he was 80. He would have driven like an 80-year-old. He's not a speedster. Anyway, if he was younger, he would have driven a little bit faster. But I think you have to consider that he was an old person driving to a place that he was very aware of. It was a comfortable drive for him, and he's obstinate. So he would have driven however he wanted to drive, regardless of what you were doing around him.
Just a note of interest: if you're coming to New Mexico and you're planning to drive through Indian reservation land, make sure you're going the speed limit, especially between Santa Fe and Albuquerque, because they do pull you over. And sometimes we've driven back and forth and seen 5 or 6 cars pulled over for speeding. So be careful. This one, Mr. B.M. Chapman.
B.M. Chapman. Hi, Toby and Shelley. Love your videos and look forward to them each week. When did you guys first find out about the treasure, and what was that drew you to it? Brad. Brad, I found out about the treasure in the summer of 2013, and what drew me to it is I was trying, like the Dickens, to retire, and I needed something that kept me outdoors and busy. And since I have a curious streak in me anyway, between the book and having met Forrest, it was just enough to stimulate me. And like everybody else, like I said earlier, that Rio Chama recon was my reading the book and going like, oh, I know exactly where this is. Boom, I was hooked. So everybody who reads the book, everybody that I know of who reads the book and can do it, usually goes, oh, I know exactly where this is, and they head up there, and then that's when they realize, no, you don't know exactly where it is.
And I learned about it from Toby.
All right, right. And Shelley and I have been business partners for several years, and she said, why don't we get this party started? Let's see. We are good at multis, drawings. There's Cho. Thank you. 200 feet is inside the 500 feet. AGK, what do you think about using random home videos on YouTube for boots on the ground? It works.
I guess she means if that's the area you're going to and somebody has already recorded that area with video and they have that somewhere up on YouTube, even if it's not because they're looking at the treasure, they're just in that area with their video recording, then at least you can get a good feel for what the land looks like. But again, as you see with us, you see this tiny little portion of Toby's apartment. You don't know what the rest looks like. People have come in here for interviews and they're like, oh, I thought this was going to be much bigger. So it's hard on perception when you're only looking at a video.
It's big enough for me.
But I know they think because they see it on TV on video that it's bigger than it is.
Two bedroom, 2-bath apartment. Bedroom over there, bath over there, bath in my kitchen.
And of course you've seen him when he's on his computer.
Yeah, and everything else is. It's supposed to be dens and living rooms, but it's all workspace.
So it's better than nothing, but again, you'll have to adjust your perception.
Better than nothing?
No, seeing a video of the place that she wants to go is better than nothing, but you still have to adjust your perceptions.
The more, Denise, the more research you do beforehand, even if it's looking at other people's home videos of the area that you're interested in, the better it is when you get there. So yeah, I have no problem with looking at other people's videos.
As long as they're fully clothed.
Let's see. There we go. See, Brian, the clues did not exist when I was a kid, but most of the places the clues refer to as they did. So that to me means the clues, which are in embedded in the poem did not exist because he hadn't written them when he was a kid, but the physical locations that are represented by the clues did exist, and that makes sense to me. Do we have to have money to ask a question?
They've already taken care of him.
Oh, okay. No, we'll answer anybody. It's just we're very grateful that people use Super Chat to ask us a question and contribute to our project. But no, you don't have to have money. Now, if you want to give money, no, I'm just
No, just do what they said.
Ask the question. What did they tell him?
To do the AGK and then ask your question.
Got it. AGK, I'm from southern Alabama. My camper does not do good in cold weather. When does the summer season start in your area? Well, summer season starts June 21st, but it's warm enough here. It's going to be warm enough here in probably March because we haven't had a very difficult winter. I mean, it's 65 degrees out here right now. So if
he's in northern New Mexico.
If you look at I've looked at the snow mass. The snow mass is at the highest. Taos is not even open. Angel Fire had to produce its own snow this year. So the road in Cimarron Canyon is open. So it's been a very mild season, winter season.
And there is some nice RV parking in Eagle's Nest? Eagle's Nest. Yeah.
Eagle Nest.
Singular. Nest.
Yeah.
Eagle Nest.
Eagle Nest.
Toby even was like, oh, I could spend the summer there.
Yeah.
You can see the Super Chat button on his phone. Woohoo!
Yes. Thank you, Jimmy Fast.
Jimmy will have to answer questions about that if anybody needs
Brian
help
Schultz,
with that.
not sure to put the chest after I go get it under my pillow.
I put it up for auction myself, but that's up to you.
AGK, so Joshua didn't have to pay.
He got it.
Do we know, is there anyone has asked Forrest how old any of the things referenced in the clues are? Specifically, how long has been since Brown first had a home?
I think
we answered that earlier.
Is the only thing we know about it.
Yeah, the only thing that we know about it, Joshua, is that Fenn said the clues, the locations that are represented by the clues in the poem, the physical locations existed when he was a child. And that the clues, the things that he wrote into the poem, didn't come till later. So let's say he was 5 when he started recognizing the clues, if they were there. That's interesting. It doesn't even mean he was there to be the clues.
They just existed.
Right. The clues existed when he was a child, whether or not he was aware they existed.
But that's as far as we know. We don't know how far back they go beyond that.
Exactly. Scroll. AGK. How do you look at snow mass to determine when you can get out to look? I knew you were going to ask me this. So there are 3 websites. One that's managed by NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and it keeps track of snow mass. I don't know the exact website, but if you do NOAA snow pack, something like that, you should be able to Google it, and it'll tell you it has a very good map. It has a very good satellite map, and then it has a measurement. Then it colors it in terms of depth. And you'll see that a lot of northern New Mexico, except at the very highest altitudes, there's no snow on the ground.
We also got the iPad $ working too. So
wow,
maybe YouTube figured it out once they heard us talking about it.
So are you doing it without, so the question I have for you guys, are you guys seeing this on your iPads and iPhones without
being in desktop?
Being in desktop mode. I'm really good. They must have fixed it.
Yeah, Jimmy Fast was the one that said he found it on his phone, and James Cruz on the iPad. Is it there in the app for YouTube?
In the YouTube
or
app.
Is it when you go to the desktop, Chrome or whatever your browser is, and then go to YouTube? That's it.
Bill Gorman swam the Arkansas River on March 10th, 2016.
Go Bill.
We had the option, and we chose not to.
No.
iPad donation, $ not working. James, take advantage of that. Try it out. Zinger, AGK, so can you explain in more detail why you're against looking north of Yellowstone? It does, James. we are not against looking. We have to work with a certain set of assumptions. Fenn said that he hid the treasure in the mountains north of Santa Fe, and we don't believe that when he wrote that in The Thrill of the Chase, he wasn't referring to Colorado, Wyoming, or Montana. We think he was referring to the mountains north of Santa Fe, which we believe are in New Mexico. So, plus, for us, being in New Mexico, going up around 89 is a tremendous expense in both time and money.
So he's in the iPad app, and his iPhone 6 still no super chat. So it could just be the iOS version you're using, or the device itself. I know my iPad Mini, you can't even update it anymore. They don't support it. So probably one of those things. And
Zinger, I want you to know we're not against anyone. What we do is we have a set of assumptions that we work with. If you had seen our last week's show, we have a set of assumptions that we work with. They work for us. We stick to those until they're proven otherwise. We don't have anything against anyone and their search areas. We actually like hearing about other people's search areas because we're interested to see what kind of solutions they're coming up with.
Heather,
AGK, when was the very first time Fenn stepped foot in New Mexico? I don't know specifically by date. The only thing I know, like everybody else, is the year was 1972.
That he moved here, but he may have driven through many times, right?
Well, he had to have been here before to have known. He would have come to Santa Fe before that if he was looking.
I mean, they wouldn't just move somewhere without ever having looked at it.
No, he would have come to Santa Fe to visit, if nothing else, because it was always a center for artifact trading, and there are events that take place in both Santa Fe and Albuquerque that deal with that are made for the artifact traders. So he might have come to visit those, but I don't know. I couldn't answer for you when he first did that, Heather.
I think that's it. You ready to close it out?
Scroll up for me. Just let me see the last. Is that it?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's at the bottom.
Okay, guys. Wow.
Wait, one more.
Marathon.
Cuesta.
Joe.
Quest to Cease.
AGK, do you think Quest to Cease could be a reference to Cuesta, New Mexico? I have never made that connection, sir.
Okay. Quick step it off.
Good.
We are at 2:54. It's almost 3 o'clock. That's 2 hours of playing around here today.
Oops. I gotta step back again.
That's a lot of searching. All that 2 hours.
Wow, right. Guys. Thank you. Eric, I hope you feel like we got back on track after a little while. So.
We did. I think we did a good job.
Yeah, we did get back, and you were right. And honest, I'm not picking on you. I kind of think it's neat that there are people out there that can see when we're off a little bit and when we're not. So
that's all right.
I'm glad that you saw it.
You know, we have 2 more live streams to get it right this week.
So let's talk about that. We're going to do a live stream tomorrow night. At 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and it's going to be kind of a brainstorming session to discuss the Home of Brown. Now, we've had some criticism that we're trying to steal Home of Brown ideas. We have our Home of Brown idea. We don't need anybody else's. And what we want to do is open up the discussion, and I'll moderate the discussion. Shelley's going to give us her ideas on the Home of Brown. We've invited Mike Cowling of Cow Lazars. He's going to be joining us. And he's going to give us his opinions on the Home of Brown. And we just want to hear people's thoughts on, realistically speaking, what could the Home of Brown be? We don't want you to give away your clues or your resolution of the clue. Just kind of open it up. We're going to limit it to 1 hour because it's a test for us. And because it's a different technology model for us. It's very much different from what we're doing here today. We just want to have a good time with it, see what happens, and it's the equivalent of crowdsourcing the solution. We want to try it out, see if there's anything there without forcing it, and then maybe we'll do some more. We'll do some more of those. And then on Thursday, we'll be back with...
The Thrill of the Chase, and we're going to be talking about Chapter 4, Jump Starting the Learning Curve.
So you'll see Shelley's analysis of the chapter. It's a little bit more dense in terms of commentary than the previous chapters. He's starting to develop out his verbiage for these things. And then I was trying to figure out if I could do it this Saturday. I don't think it's going to happen. But I would like to, on one of the upcoming Saturdays, I think the next one I planned is March 17th. And by that time, my new drone should have arrived. So maybe we'll have a little drone on March 17th. We'll have a little, it's a Saturday, St. Patrick's Day.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have a little 10 o'clock drone unboxing. And then I'd like to talk about some of the regulations that have to be followed if you're using a drone as part of your solution, of implementing your solution. So we can talk about that. You can ask about questions. I've been doing it now for several years, starting with the excitement was flying a Phantom 1 up in the mountains. It's gotten a lot easier since then, and I think with this new drone that I've ordered, it's going to get even easier to follow Shelley around in her fluorescent orange
That's right.
gear. So if you didn't get a chance to get Super Chat operating, and by the way, thank you everyone who made a super chat contribution to us today. We really appreciate it. It really is inspiring, to see that. It inspires us to keep producing content when you respond to us like that, and it makes us feel better, and it creates a certain level of enthusiasm about our next show. So thank you for that. If you couldn't get to your version of Super Chat on your iPhone, your iOS device, just go to paypal.me/Gypsy's Kiss and you can make a donation there. And we appreciate that as well.
Yeah.
So, and then last but not least, make sure you baby shush tells you to thumbs up, give us a thumbs up on this YouTube video, and subscribe or share this with friends. For those of you still watching on Facebook, we're going to try and do this again, although if we continue to have the technological problems that we generated for ourselves today, we had it all figured out up, and then it was working up until about 5 minutes before the program started, and then it just crashed.
Oh, well, we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
We're smart like that.
And we'll get it working the next time. But you guys on Facebook, you're welcome to join us on the YouTube channel at gypsieskiss.live. And
click on the bell to get notifications.
Yes, to get notifications. And that way you can also join in the chat. As you can see, our chat is very dense. We've got a lot of people who are very knowledgeable and who love exchanging ideas. And that chat, I'm here to answer whatever questions I can. But there's a lot happening in the chat while we're in presentation mode, and then it continues to happen. So it's always good to join us. And Mary Green, I will make sure that I get this chat copied and added to the blog once we put the video up there. Okay? So I hope that makes you happy.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. Are we good? We'll see you tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. And if not then, we'll see you Thursday at 1 o'clock for book club. And for a Gypsy's Kiss the vlog, I'm Shelley Carney.
And I'm Toby Eunice. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow night. Thanks.
Bye.